It might just be time to move away from your friends, your family, your job, and your home country. Let's talk about it. From a young age, most of us fantasize the American dream. A life where we drive a cool car, own a cool home, have a cool job, and regularly vacation somewhere cool. But unless you've been blessed with a wealthy bloodline or you're performing at the top 1%, this dream will crush you when you realize that the reality of the Western life is nowhere near. But what if I told you that your life could become fulfilling overnight if you're willing to reprioritize your life? And simply put, there's no better way to make that happen than moving away from where you feel trapped. Let me tell you how I completely turned my life around with a single decision to leave home. You see, my fallout with the American, or in my case, Canadian dream didn't happen overnight. It began pretty much right out of university when I got my coveted job as an accountant at one of the top 5 accounting firms. At the time, it seemed like the dream. But very quickly, I realized that my manager, who had worked at the firm for 7 years, was working out of the same cubicle I was working out of. When I talked to him, I realized he had no time for personal life. And worst of all, in the recent tax season, he had been so busy that he quite literally destroyed his eyes. He had to get these special glasses made just to be able to operate on the day-to-day. But wasn't this the dream job? I mean, 2,000 people applied to be in my shoes. On paper, it seemed like the most desirable job in the world, but the moment I set foot in the office, it couldn't feel further from the truth. I should be grateful, shouldn't I? Well, every day after work, I'd walk home to my apartment that I could barely afford, and I'd usually cook some pasta because it was pretty much the cheapest thing you could eat. I'd watch a show or two, hit the bed, because in the morning, I gotta get back to work. The sun would rise, or at least I think, we couldn't really see it in Vancouver. And next thing I know, I'm walking back to the office. Excitedly, I'd wait for lunch to hit so that I could hang out and chat with my coworkers. When we chatted, we would talk about our plans for the weekend if we managed to have one. We would talk about a suit or tie that we were thinking of buying, a super expensive designer handbag, and next thing I knew, I was wanting to buy the same. So I bought them, and I felt like a badass. But 2-3 hours later, after my serotonin depleted, it kicked in that my bank balance was nearing a dangerous point. At month's end, when I handed over my month's rent, it got even scarier. And very quickly, I started realizing that working full-time was not moving me forward. In fact, I was basically on a financial treadmill, struggling to keep up. And because of my surroundings and the big city life, my taste was becoming increasingly more expensive, only making the pursuit of financial liberty more and more distant. Fast forward a month, 2 months, 3 months, I was starting to become depressed. My life and career in the Western world felt like it was grooming me to become a cog in the machine, and simply put, I didn't feel much to look forward to in the day-to-day. My passions were becoming a distant memory. I hope for your sake that everything I've shared so far feels irrelevant and unrelatable. If that's the case, then congratulations. But you see, I left my job in 2016, and we're now in 2022, and life has gotten so expensive. With most people struggling just to pay rent, the idea of owning a home is seemingly impossible for the average worker. And this year's inflation has only added insult to injury. Every year, it feels like the job market has gone downhill, but yet the weight of taxes have not gotten any easier. The Western world is quite literally a system that exploits your vulnerabilities, to try and sell to you, to try and indebt you. And we've elevated our social status to a point where most people are willing to do anything it takes to stay at the top, to buy the nicer car, the nicer suit, and by doing these things, we need money. And this only pushes us further into a job we hate. And next thing we know, our life is a monotonous routine just to try and save face, just to try and keep up with a social status we don't even get happiness from. And so if you feel like any of this is your experience with your current life circumstances, the question becomes, when do we start asking if the grass is greener on the other side? When do we start searching for alternative options? Well, the crazy thing is, most people don't even realize that there are options. And that is what today's video is all about. Look, I know this intro's been incredibly bleak, and usually the Lost LeBlanc channel is uplifting, inspiring, but trust me, this video is going to make a full 180 to show you why we've come down this dark path, why we're talking about these things. Look, I hope you disagree with me. I hope this entire intro has felt irrelevant and unrelatable, and if that's the case, this isn't the video for you. I'm happy to hear that. But considering the fact that 85% of the world hates their jobs, something tells me you might need to hear this video. I don't say this to make you feel worse about your situation. I share this because once upon a time, I was in your shoes. But then, I found Bali. And I know, that's probably the cheesiest thing you've ever heard, but Bali isn't the solution. It's not what fixed my problems, and it's certainly not what's going to fix yours. But what Bali has provided me is the best balance I have found. The pros and the cons of living on this island are the perfect balance for me, based on who I am, based on my priorities and values. And depending on who you are as a person, you might have a totally different place that's calling you. It could be Lisbon, it could be Bangkok, it could be Tallinn, Estonia, and it could even be a blend of these places. But what you need to know is that where you choose to live will have a great impact on how you can perform as a person and how happy you truly can be. But when you find that place in the world where you find your optimal balance, you will be happier, you will be more satisfied, and you'll be asking yourself why you didn't move sooner. Over the last 7 years, I've traveled to like 70 countries, and the island of Bali has been the best suited place based on the 5 pillars that I prioritize in my life. Those are career, travel, friendship, health, and freedom. While it's very rare that I have all 5 of them dialed in, as long as most of these needs are mostly met, then I am a happy, radiant person. When these needs aren't prioritized, I am tired, I'm weak, and I'm even unhealthy, just as I was back in the day when I was working the 9-to-5 grind as an accountant. The best thing you can do for yourself is to ask yourself, what are those priorities in your life? What are the pillars that you must prioritize in order to stay happy and in order to stay fulfilled? This is going to be the thing that helps you work backwards and figure out what destination, what place in the world is calling for you. Of the 5 pillars in my life, the #1 priority is career. You see, my career is the cornerstone to my happiness. It's the reason I'll never retire. While financial reward is exciting, the thing I crave most in this world is meaning and purpose, and my career gives me that. This island is full of people who are asking more from the everyday life, who are challenging the norm, and who aren't taking no's for an answer. And when you find that as an entrepreneur, it's incredibly uplifting. And the truth is, most people in the Western world actually prioritize their career, but they have a very different approach. You see, if you bring a new idea, if you tell people you want to become your own boss, people will actively try and shut it down. They don't understand it and it scares them. It happened to me, and it's happened to a ton of entrepreneurs who have already given up on their dreams. The average person there believes that the only way to succeed is by climbing the corporate ladder, by putting in your time, making immense sacrifice so that one day your dream life can be achieved. But because they're so willing to do whatever it takes to climb that corporate ladder, when they finally reach the top, they often forget what they even started for. They forget who they were as a person when the process began. And worst of all, they're often so refined in their skill that they are essentially trapped in that job. To go elsewhere in their career would be a huge step back. And that is how hardworking people get trapped in a job they have no love for. Here in Bali, so many of my friends and the people I meet's careers are led by their passions. And even though they often don't have all the answers, they are grinding to find them. And by doing so, they're becoming incredibly versatile in their skills, and whether they want to or not, they end up becoming super well-rounded business people. And that mindset and those set of skills will enable you to find wealth and success in not just one field, but many. In short, I just love that Bali surrounds me with open-minded business people who are building their careers without losing themselves in the process. Freedom. Now, I am incredibly blessed to have been born in Canada, a country with no wars, a place where I always have felt physically safe, and for the most part, a place where I have complete freedom of choice. But we often don't realize the negative impacts of our life until we leave. And one of the things that was the most notable when I truly left Canada was a complete freedom from social status. The moment I landed in Bali, it was different. Nobody cared about the shoes I wore, nobody cared about the bike I rode, or how big my villa was, or how much money was in my bank account. All people cared about was who I was as a person. This can only be described in one word, and that is liberating. It wasn't that long ago that I was the person buying the briefcase that I thought would elevate my social status, even though I didn't have enough money to do it. I never realized how much exhaustion this created, being constantly bombarded with ads and things that I need to buy and things I need to do to be someone. When it was all removed from my life, it was clarity, it was quiet, and the complete 180 here is beautiful. One of the other ways I feel freedom here is the way the world feels so distant from this island. When I was back in Canada, the news crept into every single part of my life, and it tormented me. It made me feel bad. Not the first article, not the first hour of the news, but hearing it every day without a pause, and it was inescapable. But once I'm here, the news just kind of fades into the background. You can find it if you want it, but it doesn't really seem to matter. And now I have the policy that no news is good news. I feel so much happier, and because it's just background noise, I have so much more mental clarity. It's enabled me to be even more successful in my primary focus pillar, which is career. Without the news, the politics, and the division, I am truly happier, and I'm much more optimistic because of it. Now, one other form of freedom that was so incredible, especially when I first arrived here as a broke backpacker, is financial. To go from a place where I would need a 30-year mortgage just to one day hopefully own my own property, to now having it in the playing cards where I can afford my own place. To be in a place where the average person can actually afford to go out for dinner with friends, can afford to go on a vacation and spend time with their loved ones outside of their typical 9-to-5 routines. It is truly liberating for those that have never experienced it before, like myself. And lastly, here in Bali, I feel the freedom to be the person that I want to be, something that didn't feel as encouraged when I was back in the Western world. And today I'm so proud of the development of who I've become today, and I'm so grateful that I took that leap of faith in uprooting my life and trying something radically different. Another key pillar of my life is friendship, and Bali has introduced me to a whole new kind of people. I have found so many other people who, like myself, wanted more from life, who didn't identify with the 9-to-5 or the lifestyle that was being presented to us in the Western world. And this has created immense bonds. Every day I meet people who are open-minded, who are entrepreneurial, who are inspiring, and most of all, who live each day like it could be their last. I am blessed to have friends here that I can share laughs, experiences with, and know that I can trust in good times and in bad. Travel. Now, it might surprise you, but this is a big part of my life. And I love that Bali is literally one of my favorite places to travel in the world, and it keeps me closely connected to my other favorite destinations, like Thailand, the Philippines, Japan. It truly feels like my favorite parts of the world are right at my doorstep. And lastly, the pillar that's equally as important as my career, as my mission and purpose, is my health. Having experienced brief moments of depression back in Vancouver, I know what it feels like to have no will, no motivation, and to feel like the world is closing in on me. And so I know just how important it is to prioritize physical and mental health. And being here in Bali allows me to do both, whether it means going to the gym or climbing a volcano. My physical fitness is so easy to prioritize here. And because this island empowers me to be career focused, to be with friends, to be able to travel, and frees me from the social pressures of the Western world, I feel like my mental health is at its all-time best when I'm here on this island. You see, in many ways, my pillars, and I'm sure your pillars, are all linked. When one of them comes down, like dominoes, they typically all fall together. And so it's so important for you to start asking the question, are you in a place where you're able to prioritize the pillars in your life? Are you in a place where you're able to get the most out of each of them? Because there is no perfect place in this world, and moving to Bali or to Lisbon or to whatever your choice destination is isn't going to magically fix things if you don't put in the work. But do know that changing your destination, your landscape, and your environment is a huge part of your overall happiness and success as a person. You see, these are my 5 pillars, but what you prioritize and in what order could be completely different. But let's just say this video has you thinking, yeah, there could be something else out there for me, but what would I do when I get there? How would I make money? How would I fill my days? Because let's face it, you can only lay in the sun and relax in paradise for so long. What you need is a long-term solution. What you need is a purpose. For me and thousands of Lost Creator Academy fan members, content creation has been the answer to so much of this. Just the other day, I got a call from one of the LCA members letting me know that she had just landed a $12,000 deal thanks to LCA. Today, she is traveling the world and making more money than she did at her big corporate job in America. These stories go on and on. Finding your place in the world is critical to becoming the best you can be, but so is finding your purpose. And if you believe that could be content creation, telling stories, or sharing your knowledge with the world, I can't see a better opportunity to make that happen today. It's time to surround yourself with like-minded people who are chasing that same dream life and making their dream life a reality. And once you have that skill, the world is completely unlocked. You can live wherever you choose and make damn good money doing it. Check the link below, take action, and make today count. And now I challenge you. If you are in the wrong place and you are like I was, feeling dread, feeling unmotivated, or straight up stuck, I challenge you to take 1 month to go and experience a new city. Try out that place that you think could be the right fit for you. Don't be afraid to uproot your life, because if you're holding on to the wrong roots, you will die with the tree. I just came up with that on spot, that felt right. Right now, it might feel like there's 110 things holding you back, holding you in place. What are you gonna do about money? What about homesickness? Will I be safe? These are all valid questions, and maybe we can make another video about how to get past these reservations and fears, but just know that from every scary experience I've had in my life, the world has provided answers when I needed them most. Whenever I have taken a leap of faith, the world has rewarded me. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's that desperation leads to innovation. Short and sweet, you'll never know until you try. If you've made it this far, something has resonated with you, and I've got just the perfect video for you to watch next. Guys, my name is Christian. I hope to see your face around here more often, and most of all, I hope you find the answers that you're looking for if you are in a position where you're feeling trapped, stuck, and like you're needing to find your place in the world, because it's out there. You just have to go looking. And on that note, let's get lost again in the next one.